breaking news came out this morning about the new Super League proposal. Producer Des has put together an awesome piece in our rundown here. A22 Sports Management 10-point plan, 80 teams a year across multiple divisions. Top tier teams would have access to 14 extra games per season, solidarity payments of 400 million per year to grassroots, non-participating clubs and social causes, which is obviously tremendously important. But there has been obviously a bit of aggression and an emergency reaction from many people, including Javier Tebas, who we were speaking about previously to coming on air. He said on Twitter, "The Super League is the wolf who today disguises himself as a granny to try to fool European football, but his nose and his teeth are very big. 4 divisions in Europe, of course. The top division for them, the founding club, as in the 2019 plan, governance of the clubs, of course, only from the big ones." I mean, in many ways, this is just absolutely mind-blowing. It goes on, the European Club Association, ECA, notes that the latest dispatch from the A22's alternative reality, however, in the real world, this rehashed idea has already been proposed, discussed, and comprehensively rejected by all stakeholders in 2019. This is just another deliberately distorted and misleading attempt to destabilize the constructive work currently taking place between football's real stakeholders to move things forward in the overall best interest of the European club game. JJ, I'll come to you first because obviously you're across this extensively, and we have been following this for a number of years. We've wrote about it so many times, certainly read you write about it a lot. This is not going away, the Super League. And once again, it appears, and in many ways, I think a lot of people will start to take notice as to what is going on here. What is your overall thoughts about the news that broke this morning? Will this go away, and is it real?
Not really surprised, by the news that's broken. Will it go away? I don't think so. I think it's something that will continue to rear its head, every now and then, because ultimately something like this feels inevitable. Perhaps not tomorrow, but, sort of at some point, I don't know, maybe sort of 10, 15 years along the line, it feels like, a competition like this will eventually come into being. Is it a good thing for the game? That is a very, very long conversation to have. I do find it interesting, though, that Tebas is so reactive so quickly. I read some reports as well coming out of Spain that he has essentially banned Barcelona and Real Madrid from the next round of talks regarding the TV deal in Spain, and taken away their right to potentially vote on that as well. So obviously he feels that sort of maybe what La Liga is now paying for in terms of being part of the top 5 leagues in Europe, but being, let's face it, quite a long way behind the Premier League. I think he perhaps feels like that kind of thing might ultimately happen at a Super League level as well, where you have the biggest teams. So taking the example of Real and Barca from La Liga, putting it into the Super League with a couple of clubs, from different countries, where at the end of the day, they'll work out the best deal for them, and it'll leave the others with, little in ways of meaningful football and titles to play for.
I think for me, it's just simple words, Ian. It's greed. It's greed. It's a power struggle between UEFA. No surprise. You look at the clubs who are trying to be the initiative behind it, whether it's Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus. It goes to mismanagement by these clubs themselves, which they don't want to take responsibility for. And also it goes to a lack of desire with working with the league itself to improve the whole league. It's selfish. That's all it is. It's selfish, trying to take football away from the fans. There's so many great words I can use, and there's so many curse words I can use about this whole proposal. And it's funny that Juventus are a team that's in there, because for me, they're a team that was cooking their books to just compete. And again, it goes to, mismanagement and greed. I'm just tired of it, if I'm honest. I think football belongs to the fans. We've seen reactions to it, and I don't think it's going to be dead. I think they're going to keep trying to find a way to do it, instead of looking at and taking responsibility about how they run their clubs, how they can make their clubs more marketable, and how they can make their leagues more competitive. And the sad thing is, you look at these clubs that we're talking about, and it's also Real Madrid, Juventus, and Barcelona. Look at Bayern Munich and the history behind that club. And they've chosen to be no part of this and stay away from this and keep football.
It's also a different format in German football, though, Nigel, when it comes to the fans. You said football belongs to the fans. This is a different format in the Bundesliga, so it's much more difficult for clubs in Germany to join something like this.
Yeah, well, I think that's great. I think it does, because they still can compete in their league domestically. And a point that Jonathan made before he came, we talked on the pod, is fans go to games in Germany. They want to experience it. So they say about making experience for the fans better. How about you're making the stadiums better in Italy and making it more family friendly? Don't let players be racially abused. All these things play a part in the reason why your league isn't competitive and it isn't competing with other leagues. And it's the jealousy aspect of it. The reality of it is the jealousy aspect of it and the fact that UEFA has so much money, but UEFA work. The Champions League is not the Champions League now of what we used to witness years ago. You know, it's come with long, hard work, markets. I'm not saying it's right. Maybe the money needs to be distributed better. But for me, when are these clubs going to take responsibility in how they've been running for so long? And it's the cheek from Real Madrid and Barcelona, as we know. They used to negotiate their own TV deal. They took the biggest money because they said we're the biggest clubs. So where's your love and admiration for spreading the wealth to other clubs in La Liga to make it compatible? So that's what I have to say. Just greed and the usual.
That's well said.
Old guys in power who just want to stay in power till their corpses.
Yeah, I think it's just sometimes it's the person who's banging the loudest drum, who sometimes could be seen as the most senile person in the room. Wasn't it a month ago that Tebas was coming out at the Premier League saying they're greedy, they're this, they're that? The one time I agree with Tebas in this, that the Super League, man, this is so bad for football if it ever moves forward. I think you can applaud some of the initiatives of social justice and all that, but it doesn't hide the main fact that this is all about money. These are big clubs that do not want to be challenged. They want to get the most money for the least amount of work and least amount of competition. And at the end of the day, this needs to be challenged. It needs to be fought by every single person. Number for you, there were 12 teams in this initial group, 9 of them not to be counted for in this, 3 remaining teams. That says a lot. I hope the remaining teams just keep banging at this drum and then get drowned out, because this cannot happen in football.
Let me say one more point quickly.
Sorry, Nigel.
Let's talk about the reality of it as well for the fans and the people, right? So these big clubs want to be at the top. It's basically a pyramid scheme. They're going to give some money to the smaller clubs. What happens when these smaller clubs develop great talent, superstar players? The big clubs have more money. They're going to buy it. So they're going to use these little clubs more so as a feeder club to stay on top than to really make it competitive from top to bottom. So it's all absolute BS PR. We can see it from a mile away, and it's just nonsense.
Listen, my 2 cents really are just really off the back of everyone's comments here, because great comments from all of you. I think we all feel and act and think the same when it comes to the beautiful game where we come from, what we like to enjoy watching. When it comes to football, we love lower league football. We love watching youth soccer. We clearly have all worked around and been around youth soccer at some stage in our lives. And it's tremendously important, no matter what. When you look at the big picture of things, the Premier League is running away right now. It is pretty much a Super League in itself. The revenues for television, the players who are playing there, the salaries and the ownership, it's pretty much a Super League. So without the Premier League clubs being involved in this, as far as I'm concerned, there's absolutely no way a Super League can go ahead. You need the Premier Leagues to be involved in this. And therefore, you've got to be able to financially push these Premier League clubs to be a part of it. Otherwise, you've got no chance. It's not a goal.
Ian, tell them why, though. Tell the people why, Ian. Why without the Premier League it wouldn't work?
Why wouldn't work without the Premier League?
Clubs, yeah.
Because everybody's going to continue to watch the Premier League, and no one's going to watch.
What did the Premier League do?
Well, as far as what?
They marketed themselves as a league for the world, and they've got players from all over the world. They're open for people to buy clubs from wherever you come from. And that is why the Premier League, without the Premier League clubs, like you said, the Super League is not going to work, because
yes, but Nigel, can we possibly debate whether that's the right way to go forward for the game or not? Because me personally, obviously playing in Germany for 5 years, I see a different structure, and I see a structure that works where almost all of the clubs in the Bundesliga are profitable. I don't say that and see that about other teams in the Premier League.
100%.
Premier League right now are losing millions and essentially billions of dollars, and it's not sustainable, except for the fact that they have ownerships who don't care about money, which is okay because they can go. But what about the other teams? So my opinion is basically the structure needs to be reevaluated. Absolutely. But where is the benefit here? I'm not looking at a Juventus, a Barcelona, and a Real Madrid from just being 400 million a year in excess of playing the same teams over and over again and running away and creating this separate league. No. I want to see a trickle-down effect from what we are seeing. And let's put it into the Premier League, for example. The trickle-down effect from these massive billionaire ownerships coming into huge clubs. Newcastle, for example, let's see if there's a feed down, a trickle down from what Newcastle do, how they build their teams, how they build their clubs, how they keep the fans inside the stadiums instead of just sitting at home and watching TVs, how they get kids involved, how they structure their youth systems, and how that trickles down to the clubs that are in the local area. I mean, that's what I see in Germany. That's the format I like. And I find it very difficult if you see a Super League going ahead that has any chance of surviving.